Orgasmic enlightenment, where the sexual and spiritual come together. I'm Kim Anami, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach and a vaginal weightlifter. In this show, we explore all things intimate. I believe that our sexual energy is life force, creative energy, and we can use it to shape our worlds, strengthen our relationships, and self-actualize. I blend the most avant-garde information from neuroscience, ancient sexual practices like Tantra and Taoism, to renegade wellness modalities to show you how to create gourmet sex in your lives. Come one, come all. The Anami Guarantee. Every man can orgasm without ejaculation. There are all kinds of superpowers that supercocks have. Last week, we heard from Max and how he taps his sexual energy via his cock and uses it to consciously create his worlds. Another essential life skill of a supercock is having total control over his ejaculation. He is a marathon fucker who can go for hours if he chooses to. And this right here is imperative to being able to bring his woman to the deeper, life-changing vaginal orgasms. Most women need extended penetration of at least 45 minutes to get to G-spot and cervical orgasms, which are the true food and medicine of a well-fucked woman. So this means that a man needs to be able to ride the most exquisite edges of pleasure and hold on. Stamina is the most important sexual skill that a man can cultivate. It is so important because it reinforces to the woman that it is safe for her to let go. She can drop her guard, dive into wild, emotional, and sexual abandon, and he has got this. When men continually rip the rug out from underneath a woman who is getting close to orgasm by coming too quickly and before she's arrived, she'll learn that it is not safe to trust him. Eventually, she will stop having sex with him and say that she's just so tired from the kids or has a low libido or any number of bullshit excuses that all mean the same thing, which is, I am tired of you using my vagina as a receptacle for your stress and agitation, and I'm not doing it anymore. She may not even be conscious that that's what she's done, but that's what she's done. So what does beyond stamina look like? Being a man who knows how to separate orgasm from ejaculation. And this is probably the ultimate supercock achievement. Yes, it is totally possible. And what it means is that a man can have an internal orgasm in which he has all the pleasure and much, much more pleasure than his regular orgasm, but he does not emit any fluid. The ancient Taoist and Tantric writings have spoken about the depleting effects of male ejaculation. I'm sure that you've seen and experienced it yourself more times than you'd like to count. Man comes, man passes out, game over. The Taoists believe that the vital fluids of a man are so powerful and take so much energy to create that by ejecting them out of the body constantly, as some men do, it impacts the man's health and well-being to an extreme degree. In the short term, it's meant to cause everything from a disruption in concentration and motivation, hence passed out man, to longer-term issues causing an overall weakening of the man's constitution. The best of all possible worlds is learning how to orgasm without ejaculation. You can go as long as you and your woman want. She will more easily reach the deeper vaginal orgasms. You will have even bigger, more powerful and pleasurable orgasms yourself. You'll feel energized rather than exhausted after sex, and you will be building your health and vitality rather than constantly depleting it. Even in modern times, we have the don't have sex before the big game advice, as well as the NoFap movement. Clearly, we all recognize that excessive and even frequent and potentially every ejaculation can have a diminishing effect on men. The Anami Guarantee. All men can. You have likely heard me speak about the Anami Guarantee, and it states all people, all orgasm. It's the guarantee that all people can be superstar lovers. All women can have high libidos, multiple vaginal, G-spot, cervical, and squirting orgasms. All women can shoot ping pong balls across the room. All men can have rock solid erections into their 90s, master their orgasmic control, and be able to go for an hour, 3 hours, and all night if they wish. And all men can learn to separate orgasm from ejaculation. I guarantee it. This is something I teach in my Sexual Mastery for Men Salon. In today's All-Star interview, we are speaking with Steve. Steve mastered this practice in 2 weeks. He also went from having sex once a month to having sex 2 to 3 times a week, from coming after 10 minutes of penetration to now having multiple orgasms, having 10 to 15 orgasms in a row, and separating orgasm from ejaculation. Short sessions are now considered to be an hour, and longer ones are 3+ hours. Sex and orgasms that were draining before are now energizing and revitalizing. And his newly well-fucked and vaginal orgasm having woman is seeing the results spread out to every area of their lives. She just left her soul-sucking job and doubled her salary, quote, doing something she enjoys and would probably do for free, and is now getting paid a lot of money to do it. Says Steve, I feel so solid in this relationship. I feel like I can take on the world as long as she's holding my hand. As long as I have the love that I need and presumably the wonderful fucking, I am invincible. I can do anything, including orgasm without ejaculation. Well fucked All-Stars. Welcome, Steve. It's amazing to have you here.
Hey, Kim. Thanks for having me.
So you've gone from being a guy who was coming after 10 minutes of penetration to now having multiple orgasms, being able to have 10 to 15 orgasms in a row and separate orgasm from ejaculation. And you mastered that in a couple of weeks. So tell us about your transformation. So where were you as a man sexually? Where was your relationship? And then how did things evolve?
I thought I was doing very well in the bedroom. Our sex was amazing when it happened. We were probably having sex about once a month, which was not near enough for me. But when we did, it was great. We were both orgasm every time. I thought I was the man. And then taking your class to improve on our sex life, we learned how much more was possible. And so we've gotten to a place now where we're having sex multiple times a week, 2, 3 times a week. We're having sex our short ones are maybe an hour long during the week. Our longer sessions, 3+ hours on a weekend. And you taught in one of the courses that a man can separate ejaculation from orgasm and can have multiple orgasms throughout a session, thereby lasting much longer. And I immediately decided this is a skill that I need to have.
Yeah, the very essential life skill for men.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was possible. I'm like, if that's possible, I need that. And within 2 weeks doing the exercises every single day, I figured it out. I was able to, and it was hard at first. It was very hard at first, but just trying, like slowing down and breathing and doing the exercise, I was able to separate orgasming from ejaculating, and I could do it over and over again, as many times as I wanted. Much easier solo than partnered. Still working on getting to separate it out partnered when it's much more fun. It's much more exciting. My mind's on her pleasure as well as my own. But it's fun trying. So the first few times that I tried having an orgasm without ejaculation, kind of holding back, those orgasms were kind of lame. They were weak. And I was like, oh, this isn't great. If this is all I'm looking at, this is not wonderful.
But you trusted the teacher and you kept going.
I trusted the teacher. And as I got better at it, and it only took me a couple of weeks, um, each of those orgasms got stronger and stronger to the point where they are stronger than my usual ejaculatory orgasm. So that now, even when I have an ejaculatory orgasm, I'm expecting this big, like, explosive release of orgasm, and they're kind of a letdown compared to what I'm used to when I don't ejaculate. Um, so I almost feel like I've lost when I do ejaculate, because I'm like, oh, that was kind of lame, because these non-ejaculatory orgasms, they just build and build. So the seventh one, or the eighth one, or the ninth one, they're just so strong. I mean, they're fantastic. And I still do ejaculate for my wife when she wants me to, or if I just lose control. Um, but it still feels better when I'm able to hold it back and retain that.
So I love that you set your mind to that, because I think that for a lot of guys, they are very attached to the way their orgasm looks, and the notion of playing with their edge, or, like this sort of like, oh, not having an ejaculation, it's even hard for them to wrap their heads around, right? Like that would be something that would be pleasurable. Like, okay, how could you possibly, like you said, even how is this even possible to have an orgasm without ejaculation? And wouldn't that be, a lessening of pleasure? And I love, so what motivated you? Like, what did you hear in that actually gave you the motivation, like, I am going to do this? Because, like I said, most guys have some kind of block, at least initially, of like, oh, it couldn't be better.
Well, when we were having sex, I'm of the mind, like, she comes first or we come together. That's it. And she comes every single time. So I thought I was really good at this because I was being a gentleman. She always comes first or we come together.
Great philosophy, a great life mantra. Yeah.
And if I came first by accident, I stayed on it until she finished, either with my hands or my mouth, or somehow. So she never left unsatisfied. And I thought I was doing good. And then during the courses, I was figuring out that there was more there. And then I could see it in the bedroom. Even after she came, like, we'd still be going, and I could tell something else was building, and then I would finish and I wouldn't quite reach it. I'd be like, and I would ask my wife, there was something more coming. And she's like, no, I finished. I was done. I was like, no, there was more there. Like, we just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And she tried convincing me that she was satisfied. And I convinced her, I was like, no, there's another level. There's another step. They're like, you are approaching something and I'm letting you down. And she said I wasn't letting her down at all. But I'm like, well, I feel like I'm letting you down. I want to last longer and see what's further down that road.
That's so beautiful that you could feel that intuitively, which I would say is that territory of the deeper vaginal life-changing orgasms, right? Where, yes,
Yeah.
a man needs a certain amount of stamina, like a good 45 minutes plus, at least initially, as she's establishing herself in this new terrain to get there. And you're right, like, it's a sense of, I even say that if women are only having clitoral orgasms, they will be underfucked, because the level of fulfillment and transformation that they get in the deeper orgasms, just the clitoral ones don't hold a candle to that. They're more like a bit of a bit of a stress relief, or a pressure valve taken off, rather than changing your life and making you into a better person. So I love that you intuited that there was another level to go and you could feel it. And then she's, listening to the common narrative of, oh, there's, just one type of orgasm for women, and you're kind of lucky if you get one at all, right? And so be grateful. Not that that was her mindset, but I'd say that's the narrative out there for women, right? So she would have been quite lucky, to even have you as a partner who's like, no, we're not done until you're done, right? So that's already a very amazing high bar to have. But then I love that you as her partner were like, no, I can sense there's more for us to get to, and I'm going to help get you there. And I'm going to do my part, which is to be able to have this very solid stamina that will enable you to go there. So I really love everything you said, especially as this illustration of the man showing up and doing his part to walk into these places together, these deeper transformational places.
Yeah. And it's funny what you said about the clitoral orgasms, because when she orgasms, she can orgasm via her clit, if I'm going down on her, using my hands, anything. typically her orgasms are a combination of clitoral and G-spot. So we stimulate both at the same time and then she'll come, but then it leaves her exhausted and she'll be drained for a week, for 2 weeks. And so we weren't having sex all that often because it was such a draining event. It took a while for her to kind of refill with any sort of desire or need or libido. And then we would do it again and she would feel drained again. So it was really inhibiting our sex life, the fact that she was only having these highly clitoral orgasms. And then, of course, taking the courses, we learned that there was so much more there and that they were energizing instead of depleting. I was like, we need that too. Like, sex should
That
not
they
be
can
draining.
be if you do them in a certain way, right? And the way that most people would default to would be more draining and like, let's use orgasms to go to sleep rather than
Right.
let's use these orgasms to energize us and revitalize us and channel creative energy into all parts of our lives.
One of our most magical, I thought it was a magical session because she's had other kinds of orgasms before. Like she's had a nipple gasm and she's had an anal gasms and things like that. But they were almost by accident and we couldn't repeat them. And there were a couple of times that she's had multiple orgasms, but again, like we don't know how it happened and we couldn't repeat it at will. And then on one of the calls, I had a question, but I couldn't show up for the live call. Someone else had the same question. You answered it beautifully. And he was saying that, they would have sex and his wife would feel like as soon as she orgasmed, she was hypersensitive. And just it was all shut down. She couldn't go anymore. And that was it. So she was only getting the one orgasm. And you said to only use the clit up to about 80% and then finish inside the vagina, get the
Right.
rest of the way there. And so we tried that and it was amazing. We spent 3 hours and it was great. And we can do that anytime we want now. So we can have just one orgasm if we want, or we can go forever and have as many as we want because we know how.
That's beautiful. I love that because the clitoris, like I say to people, is a great warm up. It's just not the main event. And if you're making it the main event, you're stopping way before the actual full show starts, right?
Right.
Like all the good stuff is in the vagina. So use it as a springboard, just don't use it as the end game. So I love that you did that. Yeah, amazing. So what did you notice? Then now you've got longer stamina, you're having these much longer sex dates, you're having sex frequently, you're having like hour-long minimum sex dates and a weekly 3-hour sex date. Like, what is that doing for your relationship? So before that, when you were having sex monthly and these more terminated sort of, shorter, okay, she got off, I got off, we're good kind of sessions versus this, what did you notice happened in your relationship?
It was so beforehand, our relationship was pretty strained around just the intimacy. Everything else was
Intimacy meaning
perfectly fine.
sex or intimacy meaning emotional connection?
No, just sex. Emotionally, like we're on the same page. We care very much about each other. We're best friends. We run the household beautifully. We take care of the kids beautifully. Everything else is fine, except we felt like we were just buddies. Except for once a month, we'd be lovers again.
Okay,
And
but you said that things were great sexually. Like you thought that you said
that
earlier
one,
that it was great, but you weren't having much of it.
right. So it was great once a month.
Okay.
The rest of the month, she was so depleted she couldn't go again. And I was ready to go again within a day and then starving.
Right. Okay.
It was very difficult, which led us to you. And now it has rekindled our love in a way that I couldn't even imagine. You've said before that when you're both well fucked, that there's no space in the relationship for a wandering eye or like any, and it's so true, so true. I feel more in love with her than that new love feeling you get when you just meet somebody. That the butterflies in the stomach. I feel more of that now than I probably even did at the beginning. Yeah, it's a very, I feel so solid in this relationship. And I've always said, it's funny you said the same thing, but it's what brought us to you. I feel like I can take on the world as long as she's holding my hand. Like, as long as I have the love that I need, I'm invincible. I can do anything. And when that part of the relationship was lacking, I didn't feel that strength, that confidence out in the world. Now that that is back, I can be me again. Like, I'm out in the world taking over. And it feels amazing. I feel so strong here at home.
That's awesome. So you've got this solid connection within you, and your stamina, how would you say then your ability to go longer and have these much more conscious control of your orgasm, right? How did that support her both sexually and emotionally?
I don't think she even knew what she was missing,
Mm.
honestly. Like, she felt everything was perfect beforehand. And now that I can last, it's bringing her to all new levels of orgasm, as many as she wants. I mean, I pretty much ask her, like, have you had enough or do we keep going? Before I even think about finishing, usually. And
Yeah.
I think she feels much more supported and much more confident because even the quality of her orgasms, like just a week ago, she had her first cervical orgasm. And it was amazing. It brought, yeah, it brought on, like, it was waves. And it just, like, it was one after the other. And I would give her a break to breathe for a second, and then I would hit the same spot, and there would be another one. I'm still thrusting, and we're both laughing. We're just having fun. It was amazing.
So the more well fucked your woman is, how does her energy shift in the way she interacts with you than outside of the bedroom?
She is much happier. Like, I can tell if we've gone a few days, she's grumpy, and I can tell. Like, she's in the kitchen, and she'll, like, slam some pots together or something like that, and she's just being rough. Or one of the kids forgot to do their chores, so she's
Feel
bitching
hot.
about, like, oh, nobody took out the trash and nobody vacuumed, and she's just being grumpy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we need time, don't we? Like, I can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's just when she's not being fucked, she just very short fuse. And when she is, the whole house just runs smoother.
The glory and power of a well fucked woman. So and then how did that also manifest with her? You said that she noticed some shifts in her own like career change and outer life because the way that I talk about when a person's really connected to their sexual energy and they're harnessing it in a deep way, and then also especially for women having these deeper vaginal orgasms, being well fucked, right? So really tuned into that energy, they'll start to see all of these organic changes in their life. And what I mean by organic is that they just kind of happen. We're not thinking, I need to change this, I need to change that. You just start making choices and expressing yourself out in the world in ways that your life begins to change. But it's not from a mental place. You're just in the flow. You're in this visceral, intuitive place of making better choices in your life and more aligned choices. So what happened with her?
Yeah, so she has been miserable in her job for years. And her resume has been out there, and she just hasn't found, whatever's next, whatever's right. She hasn't found it yet. And she's just miserable. And it drains her soul every day, to the point where it's even a drain on our relationship, where she's just so fatigued from doing that job that it's hard to connect sometimes at the end of the day. She's just so tired from doing a job that goes against her beliefs, against her soul, and all of it. Um, Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, she stumbled onto something. It just fell into her lap, and
Her
she's
lap
pursuing.
attracted it.
Yeah, that's really how it happened. And it happened all of a sudden. And she is going to be starting her own business very shortly, probably doubling her salary and doing something that she is both very, very good at and enjoys doing, and would probably do it for free, but she's going to get paid a lot of money to do it.
Right.
And it literally just like fell on her out of nowhere.
That's awesome. That is really
Yeah.
epic. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you mastered this orgasms with, or maybe we mentioned this already, the orgasms without ejaculation in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put in the work. This is a skill that I wanted. And when we were taking the course, and it came to our contract and setting up our goals. And I think it was my 90-day goal, my 3-month goal was I wanted to achieve this skill. So whatever it takes, like I want to be able to have multiple orgasms. I want to last for an hour, for 2 hours, for however long I can last, so that I can get her to where she needs to be. And so I can enjoy it. I mean, no one wants to have sex for 3 minutes and be done. The game's over. Like I want to be able to last, to go from position to position, to some oral, to just play. Like you want to have some fun. And so to do that, you got to last. So this is a skill I needed to have. I started doing the exercises every single day. I was self-pleasuring for about an hour every morning, probably longer on the weekend. And at first it was hard, and I'd get one or two and then I would fail. And then the next day I would, 3 or 4, and then I would lose it and fail. And it started getting easier and easier to orgasm without ejaculating. And then it got to the point where I could do it and then bring myself up and do it again. And like 10, 15 times in an hour session, like could have been more, but my arm got tired. And it was just like, okay, well, I just have to get out of bed because I have things that I need to do. So a very, very achievable solo. And yeah, that was just within 2 weeks. With a partner, definitely harder because that takes teamwork. Like when I say stop, if we don't stop, then it's over because you're usually just, one stroke away from the edge. But we're working on that. And I really, really love practicing with her. So it's a good skill.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's all so awesome. Is there anything else that you would add that you think would be inspiring to share about your journey and progress together, that and any words of wisdom you'd share with any pre-well-fucked men?
I couldn't express how much just taking just the course has done for us. I mean, our relationship was rocky, pretty shaky, just because of the sex issue, and bringing us both together onto that same page has more than fixed what I thought was the problem, and then given us so much further room that we can go. It's been amazing. So I recommend that for literally everybody. I mean, I hope my kids eventually get there and can take this course, and it's just done so much for us. I have all these skills now, and I want to make them better. I want to know what else is out there, just so that I can be better to get my wife to those places, because there are orgasms that she hasn't had yet, and things that we want to do. And the more well fucked we both are, just the more magic is going to come into our lives.
Yes, exactly. And you know what you said there, like the way you described, like, okay, these parts of a relationship were well, but the sex was the thing that wasn't. And I think it's easy for people, because of the way sex is framed in our culture as almost, ironic because it sells everything. It's a focus of everything, yet it's considered like a small part of a relationship, right? Kind of an insignificant part of a relationship. So it's easy to go, well, all these things were epic, but the sex wasn't so good. But rather than like realizing, which I think you've come to, is that it's the core. It's the core connection and the core generator and engine of the relationship and your family and your lives. And when that isn't running well, it reverberates with all of these negative effects that show up everywhere, in career, in children, in bodies, in weight and health issues. And then when we get that engine really solid and running smoothly, it becomes this power source that fuels everything, and everything gets uplifted and revitalized and even reformed, right? Like in terms of her work situation, which was a beautiful example of that. So it can be easy to like, throw that over into a corner and ignore it. But I love that you recognize that you wanted to shift that and then really dove into the work and committed yourself and have had these really epic and very quick, actually, results.
It's been awesome, and I can't wait to see how much further we can take it. We had a session the other day where we must have been at least an hour of oral each on each other before we even got down to actual penetrative sex. And it was amazing. And the other night we had one session where I told her to straddle my face. I want you to just ride my face for a while. And I was hoping she would be facing upwards so I could look up at her breasts and just see her face but no, she got on facing 69. And I was like, oh, that's the way you're going? And she's like, well, yeah. And then she started going down on me. So I thought I was just going to be giving to her. She wanted to go down on me as well. And she got so into it, I don't even think she felt what I was doing to her. She was just completely focused on her game completely. So many things have gotten so much better. I can't thank you enough, Kim.
I'm so glad to hear it. That's lovely and inspiring. Like I said, your focus and determination to really devote yourself to these things. And then the end game is like, well, here we are. We've elevated everything. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing this with everybody.
Thank you for everything you've done for us. I look forward to taking more classes.
In my signature 8-week online salon, Sexual Mastery for Men, you will learn how to achieve superstar stamina and be a marathon fucker, learn to separate orgasm from ejaculation, take that sexual creative power and manifest in your life with it, give your woman multiple G-spot, cervical, and squirting orgasms. Build a supercock with exercises to increase strength, length, and girth, and occupy your alpha dominant masculine power and take charge in bed and in life, and much, much more. Registration is open now. Go to kimanami.com, look for Sexual Savant Salons, and click on Sexual Mastery for Men. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe and also leave a review. And send someone else the gift of a healthy libido and an off-the-charts love life by sharing this episode with them. We'll be back next week, and in the meantime, many happy orgasms.